Ray, welcome. How is Vox thinking about audio at the moment? What areas are you most excited about?
Yeah, so I mean, if you think about it, audio has been around for over 100 years as a creative medium, but technology over the last, let's call it decade, whether that's smartphones, AirPods, faster cell service, that's led to the proliferation of what we now know as the podcast industry. And it's now easier than ever to consume content in audio form and also create content in audio form. So we, as Vox Media, see three things happening in the industry. One is that there are just more and more people than ever listening to podcasts on a regular basis. And it's not just that they're listening and trying it out, but they're making podcasting a daily habit in their lives. Two, we're seeing advertisers follow the lead of consumers because that's where their attention is going and that's where their media diet is heading towards. And so advertisers are spending more and more money in audio, and they're seeing performance and results as a result of that investment. And then third, we're seeing more and more creators enter the audio space. They're pushing the envelope on, new formats, new genres, new categories, new creative ideas. And that's just making the podcast industry even better and more exciting and driving, this flywheel of more consumer interest and more advertiser interest. And so we're just so excited about audio as a medium for, the future of media.
So do you see that trend continuing into the future?
Absolutely. And I think, we see there's so much opportunity in the audio space. If you think about today, somewhere, a little over a third of Americans listen to a podcast on a regular basis. Let's call it once a week. There's so much opportunity for us to continue to grow that market, both on the consumer side and on the advertiser side. So we're excited to see that growth in the years to come.
You've been looking at the relationship between podcasters and consumers. What have you found? How's it shifted over the years?
Yeah. So we all know just anecdotally from our own experience that podcasting isn't just a daily habit for people, but people build a really strong and loyal connection with their favorite shows and their favorite hosts. And we actually wanted to go out and quantify that. And so we did a study earlier this year just to understand the relationship that podcast hosts have with their audience and podcasts have with their audience. And what we found was that actually about 75% of podcast listeners, or 3 in 4 podcast listeners, see podcasting as the main way they get information about the topics that they're most passionate about, whether that be news, sports, pop culture, entertainment, fashion, beauty, food, travel. They're relying on podcasts to get that information. 2, we saw that, people see podcast hosts as actually the most influential media figures in their media diet, more so than TV and film stars and more so than social media influencers. And that same 3 out of 4 podcast listeners prefer podcasting as the medium versus other forms of content like whatever, consuming social media and other platforms that they might be in their media diet. And so, for us, it just reaffirmed in the data what, the power that podcasters have with their audience, the power that podcasters have with in the media ecosystem, and just made us that much more excited to continue to lean in.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.